few things, but yeah, let's talk budget speech 2025 postponed. So, budget speech has been postponed, as you would know by now, and I just want to share my thoughts. I've pretty much four talking points. Talk about the postponement. I want to talk about the pros. I want to talk about the cons, and then I'm gonna give my parting shots where I break down sort of my expectations, things, things, key points to discuss, like the VAT increase, how government should and should attempt to increase sort of their revenue, the things that they've done and what they're proposing versus what they've actually done before, those type of things. So I'm going to share a lot of technical and practical things towards the end of the video. So keep tuned, subscribe, like, and share, and let's get to it. So we talking the budget speech postponement. So words like unprecedented, uncharted waters, and all sorts of hyperboles were used, and rightfully so. The only thing I find ironic is if the budget speech did happen, people were gonna be saying it's the same old thing, it's boring, lacks enthusiasm, it lacks creativity, da 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 da. It's always the same sort of rhetoric. However, this time around, because we live in a GNU based government, and this is the first budget speech of the GNU era. For me, that which has happened is actually not a shock, and it's actually an appreciation of a new reality. And that new reality is that the ANC doesn't have a majority, which is a good thing because for once, since 10 decades ago, we are able to not rely on majority for things that are not good for the people, for the voters, the public, the nation. Because historically, ANC has been in a position whereby whatever that they pass, it just happens. So this postponement is a representation of, you got to be careful what you're going to be tabling, because it doesn't have only political implications, but it has, real consequential implications that people on the ground feel. And because nobody has outright power, they are able to hold each other accountable far better than it has historically. So the postponement is not a shock based on where we're at. It's really a consequence of the nature of this mechanism called the GNU. And also, my thoughts on the rand. People tend to blow this price movement of the rand versus dollar out of proportion. Yes, at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, it peaked at about 18 rand 60 cents, and it was a sharp peak, hence obviously due to the market reacting to the postponement. However, if you look at what happened, it actually, as of today, the next day, it actually came, whatever gains that it got yesterday, it's sort of recovered from that, and by 50% already, and it's projected to go down. However, in the way that the markets are set up, the way it's projected to go down, it's in such a way that if further uncertainty is established or is occurs, therefore the markets could rally up again. But it just shows that it's sort of like an artificial movement, price movement, and the rand should stabilize. And that's what I just explained. If you don't understand it, I would interpret it as a very fair reflection of what's happening. And in terms of the economy is in good hands. The economy is in very, very good hands. And I say this because it's not about the things that people are saying. That's fear mongering, saying GNU this, GNU that, DA, political parties, these people can't work together. Like, no, this is democracy in progress. This is the GNU in its iteration unfolding. And what this means is things are going to be double checked. Nothing is going to happen without it being double checked by the peers involved, political parties involved, and we're going to get to a point whereby the right establishment or the right way to move forward will be determined. So, everything being a first, there's going to be teething issues, and this is one of them, however, a big one. But the markets are optimistic because whatever results that's going to come out of this, whatever losses that we're experiencing right now, we are going to gain. I could even predict we could see the rand in around about March going into June, reaching, you know, levels below 18 rands, meaning around 17 rands or so forth. I truly believe that's going to happen, and that's simply because by the time we get to June, it would have been a whole year of the GNU era, and therefore we will be in the position to judge what's happening. And to be honest, from an enthusiasm point of view, things are looking good. Yes, it's hair raising. It's like a relationship, you know. There's fire, there's coldness, there's just everything packed all into one. And unfortunately, markets have seasons. And right now, historically speaking, we're in a terrible time of our markets because now everybody's trying to push budgets, everybody's trying to prove points. So there's a lot of political mongering so that people can get budgets. Some are going to get budget cuts, whatever the case may be. There's a whole lot of consolidation and movement in terms of, policy certainty and policy positioning and so forth. And therefore, we are naturally in an uncertain time. So that being said, within the next up to 3 months, things are going to get better. There's going to be more certainty. There's going to be a shift of focus to where other matters will take precedence. So for now, because of the big item of this national budget not happening, that's where we're at. So yeah, look, ultimately, it's not all bad, but it is an embarrassment up until we see how we recover. So the next best thing is what's next. What are we going to do next? When the postponement happens or the budget happens to the postponed date, what are the things that are going to come out of this? Yes, the leak of a 2% VAT increase has come out, and that is a very disappointing piece of action or point of action that the minister has introduced. And considering that, budget speech take or the budget is an item that takes about 15 to 18 months to establish, it's really disappointing that there is no further creative ways that they have come up. However, I say that with a pinch of salt because there's a lot of creative things that they have done. It's just that this one is a strange thing that is very disappointing at the same time. But I'll break that more on my on the later part of this video. So for now, yeah, that's my budget reaction, initial reaction, and it seems a little bit positive. So I think let's start with the pros on this next section of my breaking down of this whatever situation it is. So yeah, now let's talk the pros. So yeah, the pros of this situation, as I've said, the rand is set up to improve a whole lot, not immediately, however, on the long run, which is a good thing. And once again, it shows that whatever that's happening within this new era, we need to be very careful, or they need to be careful. It's not about we this time, it's about them. The executive needs to be very careful what they do. There's a lot of things that happened that are an irk to me, but focusing on the pros, the economy is going to get better. This is a sign that we as a nation or the executive has considered a consultative approach and not a party positioned approach, which is what we've gotten used to. Whatever the ANC has said and done, it was what's going to happen, and we could not do anything about it. And for me, I'm glad that's where we're at, because things like this is what's going to make the markets to be understanding, to be tolerant, to be more less reactive of things that happen, because they're going to trust the executive to come out with the right decision. And that for me is a very big positive. And as much as the media and just a whole lot of talk around this is going to be mostly negative, there is a very huge positive. So, that being said, I appreciate the fact that the budget has been postponed, because we get a warning shot of what was to come. Politically, it's definitely an embarrassment for the ANC, because they're getting judged historically and concurrently of how they used to do things, how they are now going to do things, and it's exposing how sort of not for the people they really are. And other political parties, predominantly the DA, they're going to claim a moral victory, which is quite comical, because, yeah, they have no right to claim that victory, because it's a small victory. The postponement is going to happen in the interest of everyone if you have a right mindset or the right mind. And for the DA to say what they're doing, they are just, politically charging the situation and claiming the victory for themselves. And I'm going to explain why the victory is not so epic. But the victory is the postponement, because the postponement allows for further consultation. This consultation is very key. And once again, the results of these further interventions and consultations will determine how strong we bounce back. That's the key part of all of this. Now, the next positive is that political certainty, or as we learn the GNU, we need to understand the type of uncertainty, because now, historically, when we use the word uncertainty, we were having a very different picture in our minds. Before, we were uncertain because the ANC could do whatever it wanted, because it had the majority. So the uncertainty there was quite consequential. However, this time around, uncertainty just means things are not as per usual. And looking at what happened during the elections, whereby government took time to be established and all sorts of things, there was a high degree of uncertainty. However, once the ANC declared what's going to happen, determined that they're going to have an approach of government of national unity, certainty, not absolute certainty, reasonable certainty was established, and that got us to a situation whereby the markets responded positively. Everything started to look super grand, and that's why the media was parading the GNU as the saving grace of South Africa and so forth, and all that excitement. So, once again, as much as on the negative we are so easily instigated, we need to understand from a positive point of view, how strong are we? It cannot be that anything that happens that is positive, it's just simply a GNU sort of situation. It's not true. And even if it is true, we need to understand the reality of how much positivity we can relate towards this establishment of the GNU and everything that comes with it. So all those type of things, we need to gauge ourselves and understand that the word uncertainty or certainty has a different type of feel. And we need to understand that in terms of how we progress, how the markets react, and overall, how we measure ourselves against the progress that we hope to achieve. So that's a pro in my book, because we are learning. And as we learn, we are understanding each other. We are coming to a consensus that is ultimately very important for the further development of this country and its economic objectives. Yeah, I think that's it with the pros. I'm sure there's more, but I think I've covered it well. And let's talk about the cons. So the cons, right? The bad. Yeah, the inverse is bad, as I've already said. If we are looking to benefit from this, equally, we can totally self destruct simply because of egos, political party tricks, politically everything, politicking everything is going to be the death of this, of us, of the situation being the worst that it can get to. So I truly hope that doesn't happen, but that's part of the bad, you know. The politicking is going to amplify the uncertainty. And I explained uncertainty at the pros. And unfortunately, on the other side of the coin, the uncertainty level can be extreme. It can be blown out of proportion, and that is a danger factor. Another thing is, once again, the ANC being a party of the progressive blacks, or maybe it's not anymore, it's more the MKP and the EFF nowadays. Um, their credibility has been rocked. In fact, not just rocked, it's actually almost down to zero. And they have determined to just be placed in a situation of extreme, um you know they've placed themselves in a situation that is extreme and unnecessary for themselves. Not that it's something that I care about. However, it's a political point, and we need to understand and observe the progression of the ANC when it comes to its influence in the country. Um, but fortunately, it losing power is actually better for the country. And I say this because they had 30 years to do something. They did little of something, and that is a complete failure because you cannot have the power that you had. And I'm comparing this to the few or almost a year or the 3 quarters, 9 months that we've had of the GNU. We have garnered so much positive momentum. And comparing 9 months to 30 years, that's a blatant disappointment. And that needs to be understood that these guys were doing bugger all. They were doing nothing that is leading to the emancipation and the collective improvement of this country. They were riding on a wave that they started pre 1994 and nothing further. They didn't take this country further. They just maintained at the same time, or they maintained a momentum, but they dismantled so much infrastructure. You know, as a globe, we have um, averages that we look at in terms of comparing countries and everything. And unfortunately, globally, we are improving. Everything has improved. In as much as everybody's disappointed, things have improved. But we have fallen off the global trend so much. And in terms of the projection that South Africa was going as a leader of African development, as a leader of just everything African, we have fallen off. Our credibility has been lost. And this is truly because of how the ANC has just done everything. And it's really disappointing at this point because they have failed us. They have failed the people. They are still failing us because they are so tone deaf on what they need to do in the markets. They are smart for nothing. I mean, there's a lot of smart people in the governing party, or well, the former governing party. However, it's just not translated well. You look at where we at with ESCOM, we look at where we at with our state-owned entities, we look where we at with just everything, the fuel price, and all sorts of suggestions that have been offered in order to improve the lives of the people. They are so great at making excuses, but when it comes to taking action, they don't do anything. They do soft things that mean nothing. It's really now the land expropriation bill of the Bella Act, whereby they are trying to assert some sort of dominance, but it's a little too late. It's political carrot dangling, and it really does not do anything to actually help us in a true way. So I'm really disappointed in there. And that's for me the hugest con out of this situation, because of the things that we don't know, the things that we don't see. And fortunately, because of this postponement, now we understand there's certain documents that get, or a press release that gets released, but it's embargoed up until the actual speech is delivered. And all the things that were rumored have come true. And then they have a press conference and they want to blame leaks, they want to blame, all sorts of things. And I'm like so disappointed, because as a finance department with presumably the best people working in treasury to make sure that our fiscal certainty and our fiscal health is where it should be, the feedback that we were getting from the minister was really disappointing. I'm really not happy with the attitude that he portrayed, and it's really disappointing. It's tone deaf, you know. It's so nonchalant, and I think that adds to the frustrations that the markets perceived. But I think the markets see beyond political personalities. So therefore, whatever disappointments that occurred, the markets look beyond that and they settle at the idea that the postponement is room for improvement and room for intentional. So in other words, as worse as it is right now, it can't get any worse. That's what this means. That's the the thing that we're holding on to. It is what it is. So yeah, I mean, with the cons, it's so easy to criticize. And I mean, you talk about the criticism of them increasing taxes, another tone deaf thing that they are doing. And it's not just tone deaf, it's so maniacal, because there's been so many incremental increases of tax. Mind you, when you look at the revenue collection breakdown of government, when it comes to taxes, the highest tax collection is from income tax, pay as you earn. This is individuals. Every working individual that works, they getting taxed the most. That's the highest tax revenue collection that government receives. And every year there's been an increase in that regard. Most of the time it's incremental increases, or lowering of rebates, or taking away certain tax credits and so forth, for deductibles and so on. And it's been rather unfortunate that that's been the case. So I'm saying this to illustrate the point that there have been increases that have been occurring, and they are just still wanting more from the people. They're squeezing already highly taxed income tax or tax base, which if you look at our unemployment levels and the people working, it's crazy. And mind you, within the people working, if you earn less than 10,000 per month, or about between 10,000 to 8,500 per month, you don't even get taxed. And that lowers the population that is taxed, to a even lower amount. And they are the ones that are carrying this huge influx of taxation, and they get taxed every year. And it's not just about the percentages, it's about the table, the weightings and how people get pushed into higher tax brackets, and that makes them to pay higher taxes, and therefore the government increases their tax collection. Then the next one is value added tax. No, it's not value added tax. I'm confusing. Is corporate income tax? No, it's value added tax, and then corporate income tax is third. Now, when it comes to VAT, this one is a taxation. You see, if you were to summarize the income tax and pay as you earn as a taxation of the wealthy and the working class, or whoever that's working class, obviously I'm expanding it to include wealthy individuals as well. That's the taxation of the working people, the income earners, right? It's general. However, when it comes to VAT taxes everyone, and it's a pain for everyone. And this for me is the biggest critique that I have for them. Because when you tax everyone in a society that is already in inequality is so rife, you are fundamentally increasing the adverse effects. Because remember, if you have resources, you have the ability to deal with the negative impact of whatever that is happening and what's going on. But if you don't have any resources to weather the storm, and therefore the poor, you are further deepening them into a worse situation that they're already in. And that's why for me the proposed increase of that is so disappointing, because already you have done so much damage to people being poorer and the poor being more poor. You are fundamentally making them pay for the things that you guys were using, and when I say you guys, I mean the ANC, that they were using as politicking vehicles to look like they're for the people. I'm talking about the income grants, which started in COVID and they decided to continue providing it post COVID. That money had to come from somewhere. It came from the increase of VAT. It came from the incremental increase of tax of income tax, as well as um, reducing certain budgets from I think was health and as well as education, if I'm not mistaken. So there's been so much taken from the people to give them peanuts. I mean, to be given 350 means nothing. It literally means nothing. And to come and portray this idea that people are opening businesses and whatnot, it's an absolute insult, because what they gain, I mean, they gain billions to trillions, squeezing the public. And you further squeeze them with this VAT incremental increase or proposed increase. It is totally insane. And it's a, yeah, like, I mean, I'm just glad it's going to be revised, hopefully to zero. There must be no increase. In fact, there should be a decrease, because that is not the way. And couple that with the policy framework of the MPC, meaning the Monetary Policy Committee at the Reserve Bank. They are busy increasing interest rates like nobody's business. Yes, we got a cut, but that cut came with like, hey, we're gonna increase later if things get crazy. And my problem with this word uncertainty, which I use the word crazy this time, we don't know what uncertainty means. And even when the Reserve Bank uses the word uncertainty, we don't know what they mean. And therefore, that's an easy excuse for them to be trigger happy and start increasing rates. And when they increase rates, they are creating tougher economic conditions. And this is where this thing with the budget, what happening with the budget is such a disappointing matter, and it's so frustrating. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it right there. I think my point of the cons is well established. I just want to give my parting thoughts and end this video. So, my parting thoughts. So, yeah, I don't even know what to say anymore, because I think I've said so much. But yeah, look, the rand is going to get better. The economy is going to get better, so long as they are fighting amongst themselves for for the greater good. The fight must be a good fight, not the fight that is looking to um, amplify egos, to put us in a position where people have agendas and they are pushing their agendas, because those agendas are very costly. They've put us in a position that we do not deserve to be in. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is for now. um I'm just happy we are where we are at. So that being said, um the government needs to do better, and I think they know, because nobody wants to look bad. That's the only thing I can hold on to when it comes to this iteration. And really looking at that, I mean, to propose the increase of VAT, it's so frustrating to me, because, as I've already previously said on this video, that VAT is one of the lower tax contributions in terms of government's revenue collection. However, it has the most devastating impact. And when I say impact, I mean a cascading impact, because you increase the VAT, and then what happens is business pushes the VAT cost to consumers. Consumers are made out of the rich, middle class, and the poor, and it affects everyone. Everything is gonna, every price is going to increase, and people's grants and all sorts of things that they have, resources that they have, are going to be rendered useless. And that's going to create uncertainty, because crime goes up when people can't afford things. And therefore, a general level of uncertainty will occur. And this will make the Reserve Bank to increase interest rates, making the cost of borrowing to go higher. And when the cost of borrowing goes higher, people are unable to improve their lives significantly, because the whole point of you borrowing is so that you can borrow to improve your life, to increase your level of lifestyle for the better. And you're spending, which is good for, for the economy. But because you're increasing interest rates, spending reduces because pockets are becoming tight. And ultimately, we're going to get to a choice where the money, we have to print more money. And when you print more money, you are further increasing inflation, because the money that exists is being rendered more useless than it previously was. And therefore, the injection of more money, and where it goes, which ultimately goes to government, leads to a position that creates major economic problems in terms of our money becoming weak, plus our ability to borrowing money going to a complete halt, and therefore everything that we live on a day to day being expensive. That is why the cost of living is so grossly high right now. It's terribly high, and it's unforgivable. That's what I'm saying. What the ANC is doing is so tone deaf. The implications are so painful, guys. It's so painful. People are struggling. People that have money are struggling. People that don't have money are struggling. Everybody is struggling. There is no residual income. So therefore, that is bad for the economy. And that's why this tug of war is so important, because it will help us in the long run if it works out in a favorable manner, of which that's what we're hoping for. So that's really what it is. I mean, this VAT increase, it's symbolistic to to the failure of this ANC government. They could have done so many radical things for the people, but they did it for themselves. That's a reflection. That's what when they look in the mirror, that's what they need to be saying. That's what they are experiencing in the frustration, and why political parties are so hell bent to claim victories, because of the political capital that's just out there. And the ANC did it to themselves. They betrayed the people. And you look at the trade unions, your Zwelinzima Vavis and them, they're saying the same thing, because this government, or this former majority government, is so tone deaf. And this needs to change. I'm not saying it needs to change for them to be great again. No, I couldn't care anymore right now. It needs to change because government needs to be our best player. Whoever's in government needs to operate at a high level that is good for the country. And that's how everybody benefits. It's as simple as that. Because we have the right technical people, but it's the political appetite, it's the political intention that is lacking. People are doing less, and it's a frustration. So, that being said, yeah, guys, I just want to leave it there. This is a very charged video ultimately, but things had to be said, and I believe maybe you guys have your own thoughts. Please leave a comment down the comment section and let me know what you think. Are you yay or nay? Are you happy, unhappy, you're not sure? What are your thoughts? What do you have to say about this VAT increase? What do you have to say about government always increasing the you know the amount of tax that they tax. I mean, I didn't even mention sin taxes, and that goes up all the time, and people drink. So yeah, guys, it's just really frustrating. But other than that, there's hope. Things are gonna get better, I believe. Um, we're gonna be all right. I don't want to say that. But, yeah, but we're gonna be all right. We have to be. So yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Please remember to subscribe, like, and share, and see you on the next one. Bye. Video done.